today. Okay, welcome everybody. It is either Monday, February the 7th or Tuesday, February the 8th, depending on where you happen to be in the space-time continuum. Jim and Jory are calling you today from Maui, where we've been happily stuck for a little over 2 years now, offering this practice group online. And I'm really happy to be with you today after missing last week. I missed you, and we will revisit what happened last week as part of our class today, and I'm really looking forward. I invited Katrina to come back, and we're going to demonstrate a restorative dialogue a little bit later, and then we're also going to talk about the skill of patience. And Jory, would you like to check in a little bit?
Yeah, I am a little bit amused and I was a little dismayed also that patience was stretched a bit last time, and ironically now that's the next skill on the matrix. And I'm delighted to have you all here, and we'll see what we learn together.
Yeah. So far, we are at about 41 people on the call. We usually have somewhere between 40 and 60, something like that on average. So more people will probably be arriving. And as you can tell, we have people here from all over the world. Because of where we are in Hawaii, we get to connect with friends in Asia, in India and Japan, and sometimes mainland China and Taiwan, Hong Kong here on this call. And so Singapore I see here today as well. That's really fun. Australia. So really glad that you're all here to practice with us today. And I'm underlining the word practice. This is a practice group rather than, there's lots of different kinds of NVC groups, including a training group, or maybe it's like a webinar and the trainer standing in front of the room teaching you something. And then there's an empathy group where maybe there's an exchange of empathy or some kind of deep process work. And this is a practice group, so we tend to keep pretty low levels of intensity going here so we can stay present and learn new skills. And we've been focusing on the 28 skills of the Pathways to Liberation Matrix, and we're about halfway through now. Today we'll be diving into the skill of patience. What we usually do is start with a self-connection exercise, which I'll lead in just a moment while Jory makes small groups. And then when we're all done with the self-connection exercise, then we'll give you the opportunity to go to small groups and just check in about what it's like to be here, what the self-connection exercise was like, any hopes you have for today, and so forth. And then we'll come back to large group after a few minutes and dive in with the lesson today.
And you'll notice both Jim and I have put equal signs in front of our names. That means that we don't want to go into any of the breakout rooms and breakout groups. And if you do not want to be in a breakout group, please put the equal sign in front of your name. If that's really something that's super challenging for you, you can certainly put it in the chat. But I must say, as I'm making the groups, it's harder for me to track both the groups and the chat. So the equal sign is much easier to track on that. So with that, I think, Jim, are you ready to start the self-connection exercise?
I am. Okay, so self-connection just means basically using nonviolent communication as an inside job. So sometimes we do some writing, sometimes we just do some contemplation and so forth. So you don't need to try to take any notes or anything today. This is just a chance to be with yourself in your own body. So it begins with intention. So just get clear on why you're willing to do this exercise, why you're willing to let Jim lead you in an exercise. If you are willing, and if you're not, then feel free just to rest or read a book or take a break. Let's take about 10 minutes. But if you want to participate in this part, then just ask yourself why. Why are you doing that? And if your eyes are still open, just look around the space that you're in. And if your eyes are closed, you can either leave them closed or open them, your choice. And just look around, let your eyes go wherever they want to go. For some reason, this is very restful for the nervous system, just to orient yourself to your environment. And helps nervous systems to calm down and feel safe. And then as you look around the space that you're in, see if you can find an object that you enjoy looking at. For whatever reason, maybe it meets a practical need, or maybe there's something quite beautiful about it, or something familiar. Choose one object and just allow your eyes to rest on that object. And then savor that this object exists. You chose it for a reason. See if you can connect to the needs that that object feeds for you. So, for example, my eyes just naturally went to like a coffee cup, an empty coffee cup that's on my desk. And as I savor it, I realize that it's like a perfect way to sometimes help me satisfy my thirst. Sometimes it meets a need for beauty because of the tastes and the aromas of what might be in it. And in a moment, I'm just savoring its emptiness, that it has this potential to delight. So pick an object and savor it. Savoring just means to extend the enjoyment of something. And then when you feel finished, just let it go and close your eyes for a second. If you'd like. And just notice how your body feels. Whatever you notice is, of course, perfect for you. It's what's actually happening for you. Maybe there's words to describe the sensations that you're experiencing. Maybe not. That doesn't matter. Just notice that you have a body and that it has sensations. And again, you can let your consciousness go to any part of the body that might need some attention. Maybe there's a particular sensation that is painful and might need a little acknowledgement or empathy or even adjustment so that you're more comfortable. Or maybe there's an awareness of a pleasant feeling and you would like to just slow down and savor that. And if you stay with it, you'll notice that it's not just one sensation, it's like a parade of sensations that you become aware of. Some may be pleasant, some may be painful. It's as if our nervous system is scanning our body for sensations, looking for what's important. And whatever sensation that you're noticing now, see if you can connect it to a need. Imagine that the sensation is a signal, like a light on the dashboard of your consciousness. What's it alerting you to as important? And if none of this makes any sense, that's okay. That might be the feeling of confusion or befuddlement or openness or curiosity. So the need might be clarity. So you would just settle into clarity and savor that need. So whatever need you find, savor that. And if your mind drifts away, that's great. Just notice what it drifts towards. And behind that thought, there'll be another need. Like, for example, I noticed my mind drifting. I wanted to know what time it was. So that meant I was needing some clarity. So then I go back and I just savor clarity. And the last part of our self-connection process is to consider what would make your life more wonderful for the next couple of hours that we're together. This could show up as a wish. It could show up as a request. A goal. Whatever it is. Just notice that impulse in you to make life wonderful. And then just reflect for a moment about this exercise as you get ready to open your eyes. And open them whenever you're ready. What was this exercise like for you? Did you experience it as nutritious or as boring or intriguing, confusing, whatever it was? Give yourself permission to have whatever your experience was. And in a minute, Jory will open up small groups for you. There'll probably be about 3 people per group. And the idea is this is an opportunity to practice the other 2 modes of nonviolent communication. We shift from self-connection or self-empathy to connection with other human beings. When you're listening, which would be about 2/3 of the time, you'd be practicing empathy, the listening skills of NVC. When you're speaking, you'll be practicing honesty. And we'll do that set the timer for about 10 minutes, Jory. And as usual, some people might have arrived after Jory started making the groups. So it'll take her just a few minutes to make sure that you have a group and that you're in one. And the request is that you turn your camera on for the small groups so that people can see you. We've gotten feedback in the past that it just helps people to feel safe. If for some reason you can't turn your camera on because of a poor internet connection, just let the people in your group know why you can't turn your camera on, just to reassure them that why you're there and why you can't do it. And if you find yourself in a group and you didn't put an equal sign in your name, you can always just come back here. I saw a note from somebody in the chat. So
yeah. So I also made 2 language groups, one in Mandarin and one in Japanese. And if you would like to be in either of those and don't find yourself there, please do feel free to come back and we'll put you into the language that you live with. And that's a really helpful thing. If you're in Japan and mostly you are living with your Japanese tongue and your language, then it's helpful to be able to practice with people who share that and really integrate that. And that's the same with Mandarin. And
okay.
all right. So, welcome back. Just to take a breath and arrive, having moved from the large group into a more intimate group for most of you, and then back here again, and just notice how you are right now. Taking a breath maybe, and giving yourself permission to be experiencing whatever you're experiencing right now, and whatever you have experienced. And I wonder if there is anything anyone would like to share about what your experience is so far today.
And you can do that 2
Not
ways. You could either raise your hand, your little electronic hand, which you do if you're due to Zoom. Then you could do that by clicking on reactions in the bottom of your screen. And there's a little place there where you can raise your hand, or you can say something in the chat.
I see a hand. Sharona. Hi there.
I would like to celebrate that I become more social during these months. And I was chatting with a friend who have the same birthday as I am. And we were talking about, yes, we are by nature very shy. Yeah, so it takes a lot of work to be able to feel comfortable with new people. So I'm celebrating that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Celebrating that with you, Sharona.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything to share, including if that you had a breakthrough in terms of your own communication patterns this week, something that you noticed that you're excited about sharing with other people? Hey, Rob, go ahead.
Oh, hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it was opposite. I just found, maybe because I was napping before the meeting, but yeah, I was hearing one of our people in the group talk about Hong Kong and sort of the repression there. But I didn't find I couldn't connect to my verbal part of me to kind of synthesize what she was saying. So just kind of some frustration that I get sometimes with trying to be empathetical, that it kind of gets lost inside. So yeah, my need for verbal communication subside somehow, and out of myself with others wasn't met.
Yeah. So a little bit of mourning in the moment.
Yeah, there we go. Mourning. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Rob.
Yeah.
And
And
another invitation to anybody, especially, if you're the one who doesn't always find your voice, because there's, a lot of people here, it seems, and you want to stretch into that, that's fine, no pressure, but this is a pretty safe place to try something like that. Or you could put something in the chat and we'll read it for you. So there's two different ways that you can share what's in your heart if you would like to do that.
so we'll take another breath or so and see if anybody shows up. Okay, not seeing
Oh.
anybody else.
I see Margaret with a non-electronic hand. I'm lucky enough to have her on my screen. I don't see everybody, but Margaret's on my screen. Go ahead, Margaret.
Hi,
Thank you.
Margaret.
Thank you. And yeah, no, I wasn't going to speak up because I do speak up, but yeah, no, it was a beautiful experience in my breakout room. It was just me and one other person because one of the people had come in there by accident who didn't want to be in a breakout. And it was that oneness. Like, this was something in Japan. I'm in Canada, originally from Ireland, and yet there were so many similarities that I know I can only speak from my experience, but it sounded like it was like that for her too, that we had a lot of similarities and connections. And that just brings joy to me, that people in different parts of the world can feel almost like they know each other with just a few brief words and sharing some honest expression. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I share that celebration. We've been doing these little breakout rooms for about 20 years now in various situations. And I remember once we were in, I think it was Houston, Texas, and we were still pretty young trainers at the time, and everything felt like an experiment. Everything still feels like an experiment, but we made these little pairs for people and gave them a chance to practice listening to people that they'd never met before. And somebody at the end of the practice said, "I feel closer to this person that I just met 10 minutes ago than I do to family members that I've known my whole life, because we slowed things down and had this intention to connect." That's really sweet.
That's right. And I've heard that from others as well. It really does make a difference. And we can actually feel the connection, even with people we haven't met before. And I'm not seeing any other hands. I want to introduce the next step that of our plan, which is that Jim and Katrina will have a. Oh, whoop! I hear a voice. Was that someone wanted to say something?
It might have been a mistake. Someone accidentally.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So Jim and Katrina are going to have a restorative dialogue. And just also for you to know that Katrina's internet is very shaky, so she's likely to keep her video off, and that's up to you, Katrina, but really to make the space for a bit more consistency in the conversation. And basically, the restorative dialogue is about what happened last week and to actually demonstrate different types of dialogue, some that work well and some that don't work quite as well. So I invite you and Jim and Katrina to have your dialogue.
Yeah, and so let's just check in, Katrina, if you're able to unmute. Let's just find out if this is going to work first.
All right. I think it's going to work. It seems like it's a stronger connection in this room than it was where it was before.
Okay, great. That's great. And so Katrina and I are going to have a little chat it'll probably be, Joy, if you just keep an eye on your timer, don't let it go for more than about 7 minutes or so. Otherwise, it might get boring. Maybe not, but, and then the idea, if you're observing us, this is going to be your chance to make observations. And so what we mean by an observation in nonviolent communication is just to pay attention to what you see and what you hear. Specifically, the goal for you that I would invite is to pay attention to what Katrina and I say or do that you sense contributes to connection. So let that be your intention, to look, catch us doing things that support connection. So Katrina, first I just want to start with some gratitude. Two pieces of gratitude. Are you willing to hear some gratitude?
I would love that.
Okay. So first, thanks for being willing to host the meeting last week so that we could spend time with our family friends, godparents of our kids. It was very, very sweet. You really made a contribution to us by being a trustworthy friend that could support learning here, and I really appreciate your willingness to do that. And the second gratitude is that you're willing to come back today and talk about what happened last week, and to see if there's any leftovers, because I wouldn't want anything to get in between you and me. I really treasure our relationship, our friendship that continues to grow. And I just want to pause there and see how it is for you to take this in from me.
Oh, wonderful. I'm feeling a warm glow in my heart. Feel a lot of gratitude that you invited me to share in this group, because I love sharing this work. So it's really meaningful to be able to contribute like that. So really, really appreciate that. I'm so glad that it created time for you to be able to relax with some dear friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just take a moment to note that my nervous system is a little bit frazzled right in the moment because of my frustration around getting on the internet, which took about an hour of my time. So because of that, I actually don't even remember the second thing you said. And I felt a little vulnerability about that.
Yeah.
So I'd love it if you would repeat that second piece.
Yeah, sure. First, let me just catch that it sounds like you're feeling a little frustrated and maybe a little overwhelmed because you tried to do the best you could to get to this place early so that you could get connected, and it just hasn't worked out, and it's distracting for you.
It's close. It worked out now, but I imagine you've had times before where technically there's something you need to do and there's a timeline, and the timeline's passed and you still can't get it done. And so being in that state for an hour shook my nervous system, especially after last week.
Yeah.
So yeah.
These things have impacts on us, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually the second
you.
thing that I said was, I'm really glad that you came back to check to see if there's anything left over for last week.
Thank you. And in that, I really heard your expression of care for our relationship, that completing any loose ends that might be there, making sure that there's clarity in the space where our hearts can really flow with each other. So I really appreciate your expression of care for our connection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess I just wanted to share with you some regret that I have. And are you willing to hear a little regret?
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So when I found out that there were connection problems last week, I felt sad and confused and later inspired. But my first reaction was just kind of feeling sad and confused and wondering what happened. And then as you and I talked about it, I realized that I kind of dropped a stitch. There's one little step that I could have been more clear with you about how to access this particular Zoom room for the call. And so I regret not making sure that I communicated to that with total clarity with you. So I wonder how you feel hearing that.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, would you like me to reflect back that piece?
Sure, that'd be great. That'd be juicy.
All right. Yeah, and I hear that sense of mourning in terms of taking care of all the details that are necessary to be able to pass the ball along to another facilitator to substitute for the class. And when we realized what had happened, that there was a morning that you realized that, oh God, I'm just so not in my body right now.
Mhm. Yeah, just take a moment. Yeah. It's not quite in your body right now.
I'm having a hard time connecting to my memory and my words.
Yeah.
It's almost like a trauma response. And that's not how I'm wanting to show up as a facilitator.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Sounds like you're a little surprised about how your body's reacting right now, and you wonder if it's related to some old pain.
Well, I know it's related to what I just went through in the last hour, because I
Yeah.
can feel my body buzzing still.
Yeah.
I put a lot of importance on this last week too. I was able to move through it quicker last week because, wow, 44 people showed up and they stayed there. I was on 25 minutes late because I'd gone onto the wrong number. And there were still 44 people there, and it was a beautiful class, deeply fulfilling. But my system's not in a good place right now. I'm buzzing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to cool it down in a way where I trust I can do justice to the plans we created for tonight's call.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's vulnerable to say that
Of course.
with an audience.
It's very vulnerable. Of course it
Yes.
is. Yeah. It's not what either of us were expecting, and certainly not what you were wishing for right now, but yet this is what is, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if maybe we pause here this dialogue and just hear some feedback from people about what they've noticed so far, or if there's more you'd like to be heard about first.
Katrina, is
Yeah.
there more you would like to be heard
Yeah,
about?
I'm just
Oh,
sitting.
okay.
I don't think so. But thank you.
Okay.
It's interesting because you look like you're muted over there, so
I
you
think she's
must
on
have
two different lines, maybe. Yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you notice for the rest of the group here? What did you notice that supported connection? And I see Siva has her hand up. What did you notice that supported connection, Siva?
I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but here's what I did notice. And that what I noticed in myself, and I'm assuming in every other human being, and that is the fear that I am not enough,
So
that I
you
don't
know-
matter.
Yeah, so that really stimulated that part inside of you as well.
Well, we are all mirrors of others. You know,
Yeah.
that's how it works. That's what the connection is, because we're mirroring each other. And it gives me a greater capacity to listen. In terms of patience, yeah. I mean, yeah, you have to you have to really be patient and then extra.
Thank you. And Margaret? What did you notice?
I noticed that Jim started out, first of all, with appreciation and gratitude for what he had received from Katrina. And then he was nice and slow in how he said it. And then when Katrina was replying, she was really focusing on what he said. And then she had honest expression that she had missed the second part of the question. And she was very vulnerable and open and honest about how she was feeling, which to me is a really a show of honest expression and courage to be vulnerable in front of a big group. And I really honor her and Jim for his compassion of slowing everything down. I thought both of them did a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Yeah, so that supported connection between the two of them, and also you experienced connection as well.
I felt I was walking it with them. It was nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sarah?
Well, what I heard that supported connection was Jim beginning with a gratitude, and then Katrina listening really well and being able to reflect it back so well. And I felt that was very connecting. And then the continued reflection for care, and also Katrina's gratitude back to Jim. And then finally, Jim actually checking in and asking if Katrina was willing to hear a regret, rather than just barging in and doing it, asking for permission to do that and to get feedback. So I thought all of that was connecting.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting this. And Richard, what did you notice in particular about how it built connection?
Yeah, for me, it was in the beginning, Jim said, was Katrina willing to hear what he had to say? And right from the get-go. And he modeled that quite a few times, asking if it was okay for him to proceed. And boy, do I need to learn that. So it was really good for me to hear and see that acted out in real time by someone that knows how to do that.
Beautiful. It's almost like asking for permission, although you don't need permission, but it is setting up the stage for being received. Without that, we could maybe talking into the air, talking to the hand, as we sometimes call it. Yeah, thank you, Richard. And Ellen? You need help unmuting? Let's see. I don't know if I can. Whoops, what happened? Oh, there you go.
It was my first meeting and I thought I had messed up, and I was all anxious because I had just picked up my dog from the vet and he was still kind of loopy and he wasn't acting right. And the friend that invited me, or the person that invited me, said, well, try again later. And I did, because I really wanted, and to have Katrina have the courage to hang in there and the endurance, even when, and her vulnerability to, it was a good lesson for me. It was the vulnerability to say, I'm not okay with this. My body's not being right with this. Many times I just ignore what my body's doing. And in the culture or place that I interact with people, I'm not able to do something as gentle and respectful as the two of them did with each other. And I just, it was very nice, very precious.
Thank you. So it really gave you some insight into how to have that patience and that type of connection. Thank you. And when I call your name, if you would keep your hand up until you're done, because I'm having trouble finding who I'm talking to when you do that, and you come up to the top front when your hand's up. And so for you, Juliana, what's supported connection?
Yeah. So what supported is first Jim. Jim's expressing gratitude at the beginning, then ownership for his part in maybe explaining the process of to Katrina, okay, and then taking her permission to share honestly. What's from Katrina's side, her openness, her vulnerability, the way she modeled her, this, not just now, but I'm just also thinking of last time, this openness, this self-connection, and the need for contribution. At the end, Katrina, you express gratitude to the 44 people who were there. So all of this just supported so much connection, not just with Jim, but with everyone here. So what I really appreciate so much connection was how connection was first established in this restorative process before the repair or the the honesty, and there was a lot of empathy being exchanged both by Jim and by Katrina in terms of reflecting what they had heard. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I hear woven in there, you also notice the patience, that, just that spaciousness.
Yeah.
For all of it. Thank you. And then Vera?
Yeah, I've noticed how Katrina was held with a tender care and with all the vulnerability, trauma she has been triggered, delayed whatever experience she had. She was telling to Jim. So I think I noticed it. She was tenderly held, heard, seen, understood. Beyond she could have been heard by herself. I think it was absolutely, healing experience I witnessed, and I think it's a clear example of two humans, connecting themselves as a oneness of humanity. But they are living in two bodies, but it's a humanity that got connected deeply in a oneness in terms of compassionate way. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I wish I became Katrina at one point of time. My body just shaken off. I was not convinced that this empathy could heal me such a way. And when I heard Katrina shedding her tears and releasing her body, I just felt, oh, I wish I could have. I am Katrina mostly, but I wish I could have Jim with me, with the empathy holding ability within me to heal myself better. Thank you.
So he modeled what you would like to see in yourself as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Jory, I wonder, here comes Nikhil Ananda. Go ahead, Nikhil Ananda.
Yeah, real quickly, I wrote in the chat what I wanted to say. And so since everyone else has spoken, I just want to add that I thought Katrina was just wonderful last week. So mahalo nui loa.
Thanks,
Thank
Nikhil
you.
Ananda. Jory, is there anything that you noticed that you wanted to highlight that supported connection that hasn't already?
Yeah, I think most of it has, and that kind of spaciousness, that willingness to hear each other, and the softness of your voices, and the authenticity of the feelings are the things I noticed the most.
Yeah, one of the things that really, I think, supported connection could not be seen by anybody but me, and probably Katrina was also experiencing it, because we can only see the evidence of it, but that was what we call the 0 step. I know I was doing the best I could to be present, open to outcome and creating this intention to connect. And even though I sensed pain arising in Katrina, I had the sense that she was still coming from zero. So it was a real clarity for me that even though we might be in pain or even suffering, we can still be experiencing that zero step, that intention to connect. And then the other thing I wanted to highlight was something around the power of requests. And we actually supported, both of us made requests along the way. So there was never a moment during the dialogue when I didn't know what was going to be happening next because of requests. And there was one particular moment where I made a request, which was something like, what comes up for you when you hear that, Katrina? And she said, just before she did that, she said, well, could I just reflect what I heard first? And I said, yeah, that would be juicy. And so she didn't necessarily cave into all my requests. Sometimes she was following the thread of connection in a different way. And so all of that, I think, created a sense in me of trust and co-holding the dialogue. And Rena?
Thank you. Rena?
Yeah, Ranan has been raising her hand, so maybe Ranan, do you want to go first, and then I'd like to say something.
I don't see Renan.
Yeah, she's trying to unmute.
Ah, there
Can
you
you-
go. Okay.
And then I'll go after that.
Let me see if I can unmute her. I can't.
Okay, I think I'm
Yeah.
unmuted now. I'm not.
Yeah, way to go.
Okay. Now, first confession is that Renan is my husband's name, and we share the computer and Zoom and stuff like that. So I have to. So my name is Ria. You're not hearing me?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Okay. Because I see you and not me. Okay. Now I see me. Thank you for letting me go. That woman letting me go. I don't know her name. What I wanted to relate to, what stays with me, was Katrina's discussing things about her own reactions and feelings that, I'm sorry, tell me if I should talk louder. I don't always come across well on Zoom.
You're
Can you
doing
hear me?
fine.
You're doing great. We can hear you just
Okay.
fine.
Thank you. Two things that Katrina was talking about. One was about the technical difficulty, and it's something I wouldn't think to mention. It's like too much and too little. It's not about feelings, it's about the computer. But I was having trouble also, and I felt bad about it. I did have feelings about it. That's why I missed the meditation. I haven't done Zoom in a long time, but the point is not about me and my Zoom, that she had the guts to talk about her feelings about her computer prowess last week, I guess it was. And then when she talked about her body, like the feelings in her body, I have strong feelings, I guess, like everybody, and I feel them in my body, but I don't talk about that. It doesn't seem socially appropriate. Saying, oh, I feel flutter in my chest, I feel something in my head, and sometimes it's more significant or more specific, or I'm not sure what I feel in words, but I know what I feel in my body, and I don't say it, and I really related to what she said, and I can feel closer to her.
Yeah, it's almost like it helps give you permission to be able to be more open with what your experience is, because you saw that she was very open and authentic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then Rena?
Yeah, I just want to celebrate you, Katrina, for having the strength and you know, that wholesomeness in this moment, and when you shared, and I can see how listening to our body helps to stay in the moment, like Jim said, zero step. But you brought, you know, when you said this is not how I wanted to show up, I was leaning in, my heart wide open to your wanting to contribute and also to hold yourself with dignity. And I think you did that. And the contribution wasn't maybe what you had planned and Jim and you had planned, but the contribution was way more, way beyond. So I'm really celebrating emergence and how we are, our deeper being that is there in such a safe space. So thank you, Katrina. I see you nodding and I feel I'm sitting in front of you and talking. Yeah.
Thank you, Rena.
And Jim and Jory for the safety and love in this space.
You're welcome.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll finish up.
hear, thank you. And we'll hear one more and then we'll move on to the next step. Go ahead, Maureen.
I just wanted to say that there was such vulnerability and patience on both sides, because I could see that if either person was not holding that space that you each were holding, the other would not really have been able to be as deep and honest about the moment, the frustrations of last week or the moment this week. So the receiving end on both people, when you were expressing, allowed it to keep moving, because I could see how if one person was not playing that role as well, then the conversation would not have. If Jim wasn't there to receive, then Katrina couldn't have gone there, and vice versa. So thank you both. And thanks for last week, Katrina.
Yeah, thank you. And you and others have highlighted how much the quality of patience and openness and presence really made a huge difference. And it could have gone very differently. I think we've all had conversations around things that were challenging that did not go this way, that it could be very different. And so that's where we're going to go right now, with an opportunity actually to experience them having this other kind of conversation, which is way familiar to many of us. Those patterns of disconnection are things that most of us have lived through and had modeled, probably even more than the actual conversations that you just saw. So the first rerun of this is going to be based on what we call jackal ears out. And what we mean by that is there's blame, there's criticism. When there's jackal ears out, it's all about you and what you did wrong, or just it could even be the whole system being wrong. So we're going to do a role play, or Jim and Katrina are going to do a role play with jackal ears out. And then we'll follow that up with another kind of jackal. So both of you will play jackal ears out, and you will have, maybe about 5 minutes to do that. Or look at Jim putting on his jackal ears. He's preparing. Yep, to just
Katrina too has her jackal ears on. And so it's a little bit out of the order that we were expecting. We see you, Siva, but we're gonna keep going for just a minute if you're willing to hold it till we get through this practice. So Katrina, why don't you start, if you're willing to do a little jackal ears out, and I'll stick jackal ears out just for about 1 minute.
All right. Jim, I can't believe you totally set me up for failure. This was so important to me, and you didn't tell me what link I was supposed to use. I mean, you're my mentor. You're supposed to support me. You're supposed to show up and you're supposed to be a leader. Come on, Jim, where's your integrity? Where's your attention to details?
Katrina, this is all about self-responsibility. If there's something you didn't understand, you should have asked. You know that.
Self-responsibility, that would be called projection.
Yeah,
total projection.
You must be the expert at that, because I think that's what and this is enough as much as I can stand. So it's just so awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did anybody notice anything that time? That
Jim,
let-
I wonder if you want to let some of your jackals fly as well.
Who, me?
Good.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very painful. And I mean, I just did it. I blamed her pretty darn good, I think. And she blamed me
Oh,
right.
did you? Okay. I was setting my timer. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, the essence for me of Jackal Ears Out is it's all about blame, and it's about focusing our attention on the other person rather than on ourselves. And we're trying to, when I do it, I'm trying to avoid responsibility. I'm trying to deflect any sense of responsibility. What and I really could. I thought I put it on our schedule to try to do it for a minute. I don't think we made it for a whole minute. It's just so painful for me to speak in that way now. How was it for you, Katrina?
I can really make fun of it. I used to not be able to do it, but I found that it wasn't really supporting my ability to do role plays. So it's kind of an icky thing, but I know that I'm totally just making fun of it. So that lightens it up.
Yeah. Yeah. And in spite of that, for me, I notice that I feel a charge in my body. It's like something gets a little hijacked in my nervous system once tensions start going up and the reactivity is there. And I think the reason why I continue to use this pattern in my life sometimes is because there's something about the energy that it can release. And I notice it especially in political situations. Like I watched, I don't know if it's great for my consciousness or not, but I watched Stephen Colbert and some of these other comedians, and it's just a jackal fest. But I'm laughing along, and I think it's about a release of tension. What about, do you notice any benefits for you, Katrina, of speaking Jackal Ears Out?
Sometimes it can be a release of energy. I prefer to do it to a pillow though than a person.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there more? I want to add another piece.
Go ahead.
Is there more for you, Gina? Is that complete?
I think that's complete enough. Thank you though.
Yeah, the other piece about Jackal Ears Out is it's like building a wall of protection. You know, if we get angry and we're putting that energy out, then whatever else they're doing, we're not tuned into anymore. So we don't have to hear them when we have that wall of Jackal Ears Out.
Yeah. Thanks, Jory. You want to talk a little bit about Jackal Ears In for a second?
Sure, that's the next step, is Jackal Ears In. And Jackal Ears In is almost like taking all that energy that we have our jackal ears out and we're blaming them, and we turn it around and we go jackal ears in. Now we're wrong. We're the problem. We're the one who deserves to be punished or yelled at or whatever it is. And that's pretty familiar, I imagine, to all or at least many of us, that sort of, oh, I'm bad, I'm wrong, just that place. And I see a few faces going, I know I'm feeling that sense of, oh, I don't want that, and yet it has its place in the social dynamics that we've been raised in, to be really submissive and take it on inside of us. And so now we're going to play Jackal Ears In with Jim, and Katrina will be Jackal Ears Out. And I do see Terry, you've got your hand up. Is that okay with you, Jim, if we stop for?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So Tara.
Oh, hi. I had just wanted to say about Jackal Ears Out. I experience it that it's and in actually. It's what I think is underneath that is typically when someone doesn't feel empowered enough to handle, to take responsibility they're so afraid of taking the responsibility that it gets in the way of them being able to respond, and particularly out and also in, not feeling empowered enough to respond to what's going on. But so I experience that powerlessness is underneath that jackal show.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, that we don't really have the power, that we're not connected to it. We have the power, we're not connected to it. Thank you. And Steva?
I wanted to, our community here, to dedicate this teaching to the political unrest that I feel is threatening our survival. So my request is that we all just dedicate this teaching.
Yeah, thank you, Siva. That's a great reflection of why I show up every week. Is I
Yep,
look for a
me
different
too.
world, and this is the best way I figured out so far to try to support that world coming into existence. So thank you. And so, Katrina, why don't you start again with blaming me for, like you did last time? Start with that same.
May I be a little more gentle than last time? Because this is more about showing Jackal in, right?
Well, you can be Jackal out, and I'll be Jackal in.
Right. So I could be more gentle.
You could be.
perhaps.
You could be.
All right.
But you don't have to be.
Yeah, I'm guessing in most situations in like this, the jackal going out isn't so gentle, but nonetheless, and I'm kind of intrigued though, because I think sometimes we have these more subtle outs. So if you want to model that, that's great.
Okay. Just getting a little recentered because I had a couple people go in and out. So, all right. Jackal ears on and ready to go. Jim, I can't believe what you did. You set me up to fail. You didn't give me you didn't clarify the link. How could you do that? You're my mentor.
Yeah,
You're supposed to integrity, Jim.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm always messing up, and this is just another opportunity to mess up. It's just more proof. You're just absolutely right. It's just proving that I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough mentor. I'm not a good enough communicator. Basically, I suck.
I don't have to keep going, do
No, but it does demonstrate why I adopted this as my primary pattern when I was really little. Because if I start beating myself up enough, then maybe that my hope is other people will stop beating me up. And so it's definitely at the heart of it for me. It's self-protective, and it was the best thing I could do to disarm until I learned more about NVC. Yeah. What was it like for you, Katrina, when I just submitted and folded without giving you any energy back?
Oh goodness, if I wanted to be right about it, it would have felt fabulous. But I care about you so much that I just went, ouch, I don't like that feeling of hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge for many of us on this call, we've been in, I would say probably all of us have been in those positions of being jackal ears out with someone who's jackal ears in, or being jackal ears in when someone is jackal ears out, that imbalance of power there. And just to be able to recognize that, that's the most important part right now, is to recognize it. Because when we recognize it, we actually can start to have choice, as long as we're recognizing without throwing all the extra darts at ourselves. Yeah. Is there anything else either of you would like to say about that?
No, I want to move to the last little role play here. And at this time, Katrina is going to play giraffe, and I'm going to play I'm going to start with jackal ears out. And Katrina might demonstrate, she might be led as a giraffe to demonstrate some self-empathy, which in a normal conversation would just be an inside job. And but she might just mark it out that this is going on inside of me, and I'm pretending like I can't hear it. I'm just stewing in my anger over here. And then we'll see what happens after that. We'll do this one for 2 or 3 minutes. And so I'll start, Katrina, if you're ready. Okay, Katrina, we need to have a chat. I mean, I don't know what happened last week, but I gave you all the details ahead of time. And, you know, I sent you emails, we had agreements. And then I start finding out that things didn't go, that there was like 45 minutes before things actually start. This is just unacceptable. This is just unacceptable.
And Jim, switch your ears the other way.
Oh, I'm
because you're
jackal
not
ears out.
playing.
I'm jackal ears out, Jory.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that is, it looks like Ann. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm jackal ears out, yeah.
Okay.
I am having a moment of pain and sadness from jackal ears in. I care so much about showing up with integrity. And I care about this relationship, connection, contribution. It sounds like he's feeling some frustration and irritation. Jim, it sounds like you're feeling pretty stressed and disappointed with the way I showed up in last week's call, and that it really didn't meet the standard you like to hold for integrity and care.
Well, thanks. You know, that's close. It's just like I don't know. I think it's embarrassment. You know, I just think I'm embarrassed. You know, we try to have a certain standard, like you said, a standard of quality that kind of fits. And I worry about, you know, when I've got these ears on, I just worry about what other people think of me and Jory. And so yeah, your empathy guess helps me to calm down a little bit, but I just noticed that I start going here. You know, even with empathy, it's like now I wanna make it about me, and that I should have done a better job of communicating it with you.
Goodness, I'm feeling tenderness in my heart right now, hearing that what happened last week caused embarrassment for you. And I understand how much you really want to show up in a way that cares for the whole community. And I'm also feeling tenderness as I hear you expressing that it's had some internal impact on the way you're viewing yourself.
Yeah.
Here, and so
Yeah, thank you. It's helping me to get connected. Giraffe ears in and out. It's helping me to get connected to another level, and you know, underneath the embarrassment was something about trust. And at first, the trust is externalized. I think I want other people to trust me and to trust Jory and to trust this practice group and blah blah blah. And then what I realized that this trust is really at an inside basis. That I really want to develop trust in the perfection of the universe, so to speak. And so then I find out that 44 people ended up waiting, and you figured out what to do. And so all my trust is like all my trust prayers were answered. And so you know, here I have a sense of gratitude, and actually curiosity awakens. And so I wonder what's alive in you when you hear that.
yeah, I'm a little bit giggling inside at the irony of your longing for trust, your real longing for people to trust in the consistency around this group. And with what happened, we got to have this amazing experience of 44 people really showing up, and the course working, and that this has contributed to a sense of trust in the universe and trust in the flow and in this group.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yeah. Anything else you would like to say to finish up this part of the dialogue?
Oh, you're one of the most gentle jackals that I've ever met. um, I truly, truly, truly was stunned that there were 44 people here and so ready to engage. The quality of the dialogue that I experienced last week, the questions that arose, the comments and insights that arose, made it such a delight to be here and to share the work of facilitating connection using connection requests and feedback requests last week. So I'm still feeling the afterglow of delight. Thank you for those of you who waited so long and participated in that course with me. It was just really a delight to share that with you.
Yeah, it's sweet to catch that delight with you right now and to savor it and resonate with it. Thank you. Yeah. Complete?
I feel complete.
Me too. Thank you. I think I'm going to keep these ears on, but I'll take them off my head. So the next step is for you guys to go back to small groups and talk about what you're taking away from all these demos. Saw it now 4 different ways at least. And also just the life of our whole session today. And so set the timer for about 15 minutes, Jory, so there's plenty of time for folks to connect. And this is your chance to practice honesty and empathy together in the way that we've been demonstrating it, and patience as well. And so then when we come back in about 15 minutes, we'll debrief and just talk just a little bit more about patience and give you some opportunities to practice when you go home, so to speak. So Jory, whenever you're
And I have moved some people around. It is.
okay. So yeah, so I still show 30 seconds left, but that's interesting. Looks like we only have 1 page of people here so far. Maybe everybody else would be coming right back.
We'll see.
So just notice how you feel right now as we come back together after that small group. Every chance, every moment, a chance to practice, as Marshall used to say. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. We had a robust discussion in our room, and some of us, when someone jackals us, we have a survival reaction, protection, safety reaction to leave. And I wondered if you and Jory could model yelling in giraffe. So that yelling isn't only the jackal thing to do, yelling in giraffe. And
yeah,
I'm happy to do that just really quickly if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I just can't handle this right now. I'm sorry, but this isn't working for me. I need a break for just a couple minutes so I can come back and we can have a decent conversation.
Yeah.
How's that?
I hear myself doing that all the time.
Yay.
Yeah, and there's nobody's wrong. We're not pointing fingers. We're just acknowledging my nervous system is shot right now. I need a moment. No blame, no criticism, just observation.
It usually happens to me just before I realize I have to eat.
Yeah, our capacity definitely is affected by things like hunger, lack of sleep, other stressors going on around us.
And basically, screaming in giraffe, as what Marshall called it, it's really a request for patience when you think about it. You're inviting the other person to stretch into patience in order to give you a moment in order to get reconnected to your zero step, to your intention to connect. And I think one of the greatest models I ever saw was our colleague Jorge Rubio, who's a trainer from Colombia. And we were debriefing an IIT, an International Intensive Training. We're all sitting on the back of the bus, and a conflict broke out involving Jorge and another trainer. And Jorge, someone was kind of trying to give Jorge more information. And Jorge just put his finger up and he said, please, just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. I just need 1 minute to connect with myself, and then I'll be able to hear you. And he closed his eyes and he put his hand on his heart, and the other person kept talking. And then Jorge said, I can tell that you're still speaking, but I'm not listening to you. I need to listen to myself. So if you'll just give me about 30 seconds, I'm pretty sure I can come back, and then I really want to pay attention to you. But right now I need to attend to myself. And sure enough, after about 30 seconds, he was able to do that, and we were able to navigate that conflict. Tanya.